In the previous solo episode, we looked at the 7 questions that must exist for an idea to qualify as a dream worth chasing. Once we decide on a dream or a goal to achieve anything at all, a common struggle becomes second-guessing what is quote-unquote realistic. It's much easier to dream on a few levels rather than overthinking this question of what is realistic. Today, we'll talk about the 4 different sizes or levels of dreams we can go after within one thing to make this far less stressful, and I'll share a quick quote from Will Smith that has honestly always been one of the most motivating quotes that I keep in the back of my mind. And this is because, as a creator, Will Smith said it better than I ever could.
Being realistic is the most commonly traveled road to mediocrity. Why would you be realistic? What's the point of being realistic? I'm going to do it. It's done. It's already done. The second I decide it's done, it's already done. I just got to wait for y'all to see.
And I completely agree. We should dream as wild and crazy as possible. Want to go win a Grammy? Just go for it. Nobody would have predicted that someone like Ed Sheeran, a shy, stuttering kid from the UK, could take over the world of music, but he did. We can all accomplish wild things, and being quote-unquote realistic so often gets in our way. But having coached a lot of people when it comes to goal setting, I will say that having a few different levels of dreams can be very, very helpful to making progress day in and day out. And this is because we never know when or how the dreams will arrive. They don't come to us in a neat, tidy package, and it's never exactly how we predict. It is very individualized. A dream doesn't need to have anything to do with money. It could, but it doesn't need to. And a dream doesn't need to have anything to do with education. It could, but it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to do with career. It could, but it doesn't need to. The point I'm trying to make here is that dreams are always individualized. What they do need to be is yours and truly, fully yours. And they also need to be consciously decided and acted upon. And these conscious decisions come in all shapes and sizes. From the, I can get that done today for sure, or this month, to the wildly unrealistic visions like what Will Smith was talking about in that quote. And that's what we're talking about today. How do we dream in levels so that these conscious decisions and actions can be specific to us, but we still don't need to stress about, is it too big or too small of an idea? This is where dreaming in levels is really helpful. Once we've learned to choose ambitions that pass the dream filter, like we did in the previous episode, we naturally begin to question the size of our dreams. Am I thinking too tiny? Is my idea way too grand? But we can remove these types of questions by dreaming on a few different levels or sizes while still keeping our eye on the huge, wild prize. Smaller ambitions and victories help us for 3 reasons. 1, they lead to an increase in confidence and momentum, taking care of the chicken and egg argument to success. 2, they connect to other larger ambitions by stimulating the brain through an increase in ideas and networks. And 3, they invigorate us to be resilient with the more challenging goals because we know it's worth it. We can feel some progress, but still take a long-term approach while accomplishing the smaller stuff along the way. The way I like to think about it is kind of like levels in Pac-Man, where early on it's easy and you're gobbling up all those little raisins, but you have this goal maybe of setting the world record, or at least setting the record on the game that's in that arcade that you find yourself today. And these 3 reasons are why we should name a dream of all 4 sizes. Instead of second-guessing about choosing one dream, try listing one within your area of passion for each size on the dream chart. So what sizes exist on this chart? To keep things as simple as possible yet give us a good range of dreams, we'll define them as not challenging, kind of challenging, really challenging, and impossible, or unrealistic. When ranking dreams, think of the impact that they will have on your life and the life of those you serve. It's not like a step ladder of goal setting where you do the one little thing and then the next and then the next and so on in a linear climbing fashion. Rather, this is maintaining a vision for impact at all 4 levels at any given time. I love helping people with dreaming in levels, so if you have any questions about this specific to your goal, just DM me and I'll try to help you out. And just quickly, it would be easy to get the idea of the first level confused with the act itself being easy. This is not necessarily the case. For example, starting a fitness routine may be extremely stressful and anxiety-provoking to some, whereas for me, honestly, that would be easy. In fact, I've changed what I used to call easy on this chart to not challenging to reflect this. It's a subtle but important difference. It's also important to point out again, like all of this goal setting stuff, this is unique to the one person crafting their dream. It's unique to me, it's also unique to you and any other one person. Each level is relative to the individual. So let's talk about the definitions within each dream level. Not challenging. This less challenging or easier ambition can be promptly achieved. Unless we have something really psychological getting in the way, it's a pretty straightforward path to do this. It's also very clear that either you did it or you did not, and you'll know very quickly. Not challenging examples are things like creating content on a topic you love, buying a cat, going skydiving, calling a different friend every day, playing a sport that you've always wanted to try, starting a health or fitness routine, wearing the same thing every day, donating 50% or 20% of the things you own, or taking a music lesson. You can see those are very binary, yes or no, straightforward things that you could do today. Kind of challenging. This will require a difficult decision, intention, sacrifice, and commitment, but there is no real excuse or reason why it won't be accomplished. We don't have to worry about any lucky breaks or serendipity to pursue something that is kind of challenging. Examples would include starting a podcast, YouTube channel, or blog that helps entertain or educate your subscribers, become an effective public speaker, complete a master's degree, buy a home, start an annual conference or parade, create a charity that brings transgender youth, let's say, together in a Facebook group, making them feel more welcome and energized in the community. All of these examples are things that you can do. There's no excuse, there's no reason why not, but they take a little more time and there is a little more challenge to getting them done. Really challenging. Many people will say this is starting to get unrealistic. Perhaps these are improbable, but certainly possible. They are 100% possible, no doubt. You will really need to rely on your why when times get tough and you feel like giving up in order to keep going. These start to require grit because you can't achieve them alone, and you will also need to rely on your heart and gut to take a few leaps of faith. A really challenging ambition is a reflection of the legacy that you hope to leave because this will have an impact beyond the act of just completing it. Examples would include building an apartment building for homeless youth, starting a podcast that hits the top 10 all-time in the beauty category, becoming a scratch golfer, opening a successful coffee shop, or starting a charity that builds schools for poor children in India. Again, if you look at each of those examples, they can happen. There's no reason why not, given enough time and effort, that they will be completed. But in this next phase is where we start looking at those really wild, keeping the moon in your window style of ambitions. And this last level that we want to dream in is called impossible. Statistically speaking, let's be honest, these dreams simply will not happen, but they are no less valuable. We still need them to be part of our dream chart at any given moment. This is where the real saying of shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars comes from. Impossible examples would include achieving world peace, or making the world completely eco-friendly, becoming the highest paid actor or musician on the planet, or perhaps opening the first private school on Mars. Whatever your impossible dream level is, the point is to keep us in the act of pursuing something while living in the moment, and this pursuit will likely last forever. And while it lasts forever, it helps us overcome that idea that Will Smith talked about right at the beginning of the episode. Why would we want to be realistic? The idea of creating airplanes was not realistic, or the fact that we can flip a switch and the lights go on and off was not realistic. Both those feats were impossible in their day and age, and so we want to make sure that we too are pursuing an impossible dream. In deciding on your own 4 dream levels, I just want to clarify the concept quickly because there's often a misconception about the fact that we just pick 4 different goals. I think the dream levels are pretty straightforward now that I went through them all, but it's important to point out that these are for the same one passion or dream. So for example, let's say you are creating a not challenging, kind of challenging, really challenging, and impossible dream level as a musician. The example could be record your first song, get 500,000 streams, win a Grammy, and finally, potentially unrealistically or impossibly, make more money on tour than Taylor Swift. Those could be your 4 dream levels. They should all be within being a musician. They're in the same single category. You take your one thing and write down one dream for each level. You could create your own chart or download one from the Just Keep Learning website that you can fill in dreams for all 4 of these levels. Again, if you're struggling or you just want to bounce some ideas, send me a voice note or DM and I'll give you some help. We should always have a dream for each level at any given moment. So if you accomplish one, just remove it from that level and add something else that's that size and keep going. JKL community, as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for those of you who pass on the show to somebody who may benefit from learning, growth mindset, or goal setting. I'm really loving creating these episodes for you, but more importantly, I'm loving hearing about how much they help. Appreciate you so much. All the best. And until the next episode, just keep learning.